Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not exactly sure what happened. We went to go and find the power in the mountain. Um, I decided that I wanted to see things for what they were, so I used my glasses, and I saw lots of things. The most notable thing was I saw Filnyr swipe his stick at at an elf that sounded an awful lot like Percy, and then Percy switched places with him, and well, I was not having that, so I tried to talk my way out of it. Meanwhile, I didn't get any help from Abel, who was messing with some rock that was inside of some woman. I don't know what was happening over there. I finally found a way to get Filnyr back, and I scolded him on using that damn stick. I don't know why he was even playing with that thing. I keep telling him about that. And, yes, that is where we are. I have found Mr. Percy. We have saved Waverly Cloudsack's family. I will make sure to gloat about that to Waverly Cloudsack later. And yes, we are in the cave, the very cave that started my entire journey. So I guess you could say that this story about me is coming to a brand new chapter. One chapter has ended. I have ended up where I began, and now it's on to take over Monterre. Ladies and gentlemen, time for Dungeon Dads.
All right.
Heroes rise, heroes fall. I see 'em on the front line, standing tall. They're risking life and limb to answer the call. But what they fighting for? Don't know, don't care. Just along for the ride, but everyone must stand. I'ma make sure I'm gonna win inside.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast.
Woo! Yes.
As always, I am joined by Tim Carr.
Oh, hello, and welcome back.
Playing Filnyr Omajira.
I am not
Sam.
a robot.
I am not a robot. Yeah. But you are getting a Roomba for Christmas, so you're welcome.
Sweet! My wife has been
Yeah,
asking about
that's
that.
right.
That'll be a fucking killer addition to this house.
Oh, it was so good. Sam Frank playing Abel Rock Brother. He just delivered his first rock baby. Maybe he's going to be rock baby daddy soon.
Thank you
Rock
for
OBGYN.
introducing me. I am also not a robot.
What have I started?
Yeah. And John Watson playing Ionas Silhavine, the one who this story is all about.
Yes,
That was awesome.
That's great. Yeah.
you're absolutely right. Tom came to me and said, "John, I need you to develop the protagonist." And I said, "No problem. I've got it covered."
Just call me protagonist.
Yeah. We almost named him Protag.
Almost.
Yeah, it was really close.
And then Christopher Nolan happened. We couldn't.
Yeah.
There's issues. There's issues. We just avoid those.
He's an amateur tagonist at best.
That's right. Yeah.
You can always count on Sam to set me straight.
Oh my God.
That's why we keep him around.
That's right.
Somebody's got to set you straight, John.
Last episode, fellas, that was intense. For those of you who are not on Patreon, that bonus episode we recorded after last episode, we really got into it a lot. Like 3 big strings going on at the same time. It's one of my favorite episodes. The last one was. But just so you sort of know where we are now, John's right. You're still in the cave. You have just been through some shit. Jonas was actually faced.
You don't
In
say.
layman's terms.
Yeah. Jonas was just faced with perhaps the thing he's most afraid of. You know, I think snakes.
I was
even-
going to say, were there snakes in there?
Snakes is the top. But then I think Paraso really spooked him the fuck out the whole first season of Everywhere Must End on Dungeon Dad's podcast. And now he saw him in the flesh. That was pretty intense.
Well, just the fact that as a spear, he
Yeah.
caused so much trouble
So much trouble.
as an inanimate object.
Yeah, always making fun of us. He's like one of those high school mean girls that just
Yeah,
never lets anything
yeah.
slide.
That's true. It's true. And he was kind of like an early Eddie Murphy.
I was thinking him more as like a late Regina George.
Sure. Filnyr got to chat with Walter Faust deep below the mountain. 1,000 miles below the mountain is what Faust said. I'm not making any promises that Faust actually knows where he is, but that is where he said he was. And then this whole thing with Abel delivering this baby, this abomination. Sam, if you don't have it already, you have inspiration for that, by the way, on
Excellent.
Abel's
I have
sheet.
it marked on my character sheet, and I was trying to remember what it was for.
Yeah,
So
that's
really
right.
good.
That was one of the most creative uses of stone shape I think I've ever seen. It was in fact, I believe, the only use of stone shape I've ever seen. But I think delivering stillborn rock monsters with stone shape is it's got to qualify for some kind of award.
Since we didn't get anything else out of it.
Well, that's not true.
The thing crumbled to dust. The lady still died. I was
So-
like, at least you get inspiration.
Yeah.
You
Well,
have the pebble.
I know. We got the
You got the
pebble.
pebble?
We fed it to Paulson. Yeah.
you have a hand. What is the
That's
what is
true.
the
I do
what
have
is
a
the time on stone shape? It's just instantaneous,
It's
right?
Instantaneous. Yeah, you gave it a lot more leeway than I was expecting it to have, which was to great effect, I think.
I won't do that again.
Yeah, I mean,
but
it doesn't. Well, I was going to say it doesn't put a duration on it, on how long it sort of stays malleable.
level 4 or level 3.
Level 4.
So you're not gonna like this, but I think that I have something in mind for your hand.
Well, I was going to say this sort of dovetails with a question that I forgot to ask about my hand in the last episode, my new hand, which is how soft is it?
Oh, it is brand new.
Mm.
So it's
Does it feel like somebody else's hand?
No, Cal. It's almost like it's somebody else's.
Yeah, that's
hand.
right. That's
like
right.
it's not
It is.
even mine.
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome.
And I don't know if like the clues that I dropped here paid off from 33 and 34. You all have a suspicion that this devotee Handa, the rock that was inside of her, may have been an abomination put there by the Gith. We didn't really get too much into that. This shy god Donatus was so moved by Abel's compassion for Handa that he actually ended up giving he and Pawson a real divine boon in this pebble that was produced from Handa as she died. Pawson also pledged himself to Filnyr, which I think is a really big deal.
Yes, I think so too.
And so Filnyr has a mount, a buddy who it connects directly to his first patron's patron. It's sort of a transitive patronage property here. You know, you may have been always sort of sworn to Donatus from the very beginning, and you are faced with a Breen in tumult. Prince Adair is raiding and running roughshod over the valley, basically unopposed now that Felipe Madamba is out of the picture for a while. Hark has been routed, at least their Breen troops have been routed. Beslith Leweltal is ascendant, as is Jesus of Waterdeep, who is set up shop in Lakeshire. You guys are in this cave. The Breen is your oyster, but you do have some, like, the world is difficult terrain for you right now. What do you want to do?
How many people?
Did we get a rest? Sorry.
Yeah, it's like, I want to take a nap.
How many people do we have with us? How many extra people do we have with us now?
You have Percy, you have Vera, who is Vera Cloudsack, his wife, and you have the 2 children whose names you do not know yet. As you all are sitting in this cave, Jonas, Percy just grabs your pack and grabs all the things that are not directly attached to you, even takes things that are dangling off your belt, and he begins to make his way out of the cave. Oh, Mr. Ionas, you should not be carrying all of this yourself.
Percy, don't trouble yourself with I mean, yes,
No.
take half of it. Take half of it.
I'll take this half. I'll take this half that appears in my hand, and you can take the illusory half that you have hidden with some kind of magic. The invisible parts you can take, sir.
Come now, Percy. I can carry. I'm war hardened now. I can carry a few things.
I believe you are. There's no reason for you to carry these, sir, not while I'm around. Not while it gives me a reason to live.
But you've been beaten upon. I need you to rest, Mr. Percy.
Reason to live, raison d'etre. and he takes your things out, and he starts to unpack your bag to dry bits and pieces out. He looks like he's very disappointed in your socks, and he gets the two children to start making a fire, and they begin to put together provisions that Percy had taken from inside the cave where they were being held captive, and begins to cook you all a meal of salted cod and potatoes, and it looks like he has a little bit of ale in there as well.
Boston, you should come over here and take a rest too. You're also war hardened and you've been beaten upon.
Oh, I agree with you. I'm gonna go to sleep right here. First, I must take the bath.
I think that would be a wonderful idea.
And he starts to lick, but only in one place, and clean himself.
Okay. Isn't there a cold running mountain stream around here that you could bathe in?
Yeah, there is. Sure. Just over that way. And he sort of walks that way. He looks very, very tired.
Hold on, Parson. Hold on. Stay right there. And I just cast prestidigitation on Parson. He is super clean.
What am I supposed to do now?
You're supposed to lay down and sleep.
Sleep, Parson.
Listen to Filnyr.
He just falls right where he is, and he goes back to cleaning himself.
Sometimes it's not out of necessity.
Yeah.
I get the feeling this fella really enjoys the ritual.
I'm just giving him a very disapproving glare. Can I send Saber out of the cave? We're close to the mouth of the cave now, right?
Yeah, Percy set up the fire just outside of it. This is the battleground that Abel's story started in, where the Holdersheks fought the Durgers. So this is very familiar terrain to him as well.
I just want to send Saber out and let him kind of smell and see if there's anybody around, or if we're in good shape.
You're not going to be perceiving through him. You're just sending him out to do his thing, right?
He's just out doing his thing.
Okay. So Percy is cooking, and he's also these children are doing a ton of the work. He's got them sort of trained up, and they're, one of them goes and takes the water skin to the stream that Pawson was going to go to, and he comes back and he does this trip a couple of times, and Percy seems to be making a salted cod stew, and he is laying out your items from your pack to clean them off, and he picks up the brick that is from the brick that it turns into a book that Florn gave you.
All right, be careful.
Mr. Ionas, sir, what are you doing with Bonris's book?
So this is supposed to look like a brick?
It looks like a brick. It looks exactly like a brick.
But he says, what am I doing with Mr. Percy? What do you mean?
Bonris, sir, your family's cleric. He's the one who he's the one who brought you into this world, sir. I was there.
This looks like a book to you?
Let me see what he used to do. And Percy sort of holds his hand out on it and touches it. It takes a second, and it turns into the book. Oh, right. All right. Oh, Bonris's book. Where'd you get this, sir? Is he must be dead now?
Yes, we did get that information. Mr. Percy, how did you do that?
Oh, Bonnie taught me how to open up his book, sir. He taught me how to open the chest as well, sir.
Bonris taught you how to open the chest.
Yeah.
Interesting. And you understood it.
No, sir, I don't understand it. No, he did many wondrous things in here. And he's like, he flips it open and he doesn't, it clearly he doesn't know what's in the pages here. But
Can I see it?
Oh, it's yours, sir.
And what does it look like to me?
It's the same. It's the book. It's the book that Florin gave you. It's got lots of writing in it. It is nonsensical. You have not cast your spell on it, so it's one of these weird situations where someone else has opened this book, and so if he knew what he was looking at, it would probably make sense to him. But because it was his magic that did that.
Okay.
This is that crazy book that like blew his mind a couple times.
Yeah.
It blew
Yeah.
his mind. Yes, yes.
Just making sure I'm absorbing this correctly.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I just hold on to it. I go, stupid abilities, sorcerers. Get. All right. And then I'm gonna cast Phantasmal Force on the book
Okay.
to make it. I'm gonna believe that it is the book that Florin gave me.
Yeah. All right. So the page that you're looking at is back to that page that you were writing back and forth to Florin on. There is a whole lot of more new script in there from Florin.
And what does it say?
So the first little bit just says, "How's it going?" And then there's a small space, and he says, "You should have heard it by now." And then there's another like space, and then it just says,
Ionas, if you're dead, let me know.
So I write my name back into the book, or is it already? Did I already do that? Is that already a thing?
It's already in there.
Okay. I write back. Florin still alive. Ran into some trouble at Red Cloud Mountain. How are you?
Okay. There's no response.
Damn it. All right, gentlemen. I believe there may be some trouble back at Lake and Hearth.
What makes you say that?
Well, where isn't there trouble?
Florin's just not responding to me. He usually talks to me through this. He's been talking to me through this book, and he's not responding.
He has?
Is it usually instantaneous, or is it possible he simply hasn't opened it?
It's possible. He's been trying to check on me. If we want to rest, I suggest we do so quickly, and then maybe make our way back. We do have, especially with these new people that we are with, we need to take them somewhere.
Vera just looks up at you and says, "You don't worry about us at all. We are hardy folk."
Well, I understand that, but this is a cave. This is no place for a human. You need accommodations. You need food.
Look up, there's Sky. We are outside of the cave. Our captors are dead or fled. We are safe. You do what you need to do, kind sir.
I walk over to Abel and Filnyr. Good Lord, how did Waverly Cloudsack score this woman?
Yeah.
Perhaps there's a side of him we haven't seen.
She follows you over there to the powwow, and
I've seen most sides of him, and well,
gentlemen, I am concerned about one thing that you haven't explained to me. Silverwind, why did you flee? We were just about to introduce you to the Lady Sweet Lion, and she was. It was planned, and you were supposed to be there. Desdemona showed up 2 days later, and nothing.
Desdemona.
It was very embarrassing for me.
I am sorry. Were you planning on setting me up with someone? What are we speaking of here?
It wasn't us. It was your mother.
My mother.
Yes.
You were in contact.
Waverly was very upset. He kept saying to me he played it all wrong with you, and he should have never put you with that old man.
you have to understand, there are many things that are going on in this valley. There are many wrongs.
I probably know better than you.
Maybe and maybe not, but
I'm married to the general, the real general.
Yes, it was a wonderful joke that Waverly played on me. I tell him I appreciate that next time we see him. But there are many factors that we needed to understand before we could make our decisions. And to be quite honest, we didn't appreciate the way Waverly and his men went about treating people. As you yourself saw.
Well, maybe he was wrong about you. Maybe you don't have the stones to lead.
Pardon me. I do wonder.
You're excused, half-elf.
I do have to speak to what Ionas has said. The forces at Forta Pass did not take kindly to those who were not human entirely.
It's a long history of that. That's true. That's what we were working against.
You were working against that. You were trying to change that.
Well, we had big plans. We had big plans. It's all gone now, I suppose.
Is it? Nothing to be done. Humans uber alles. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think things are running on a different track than they were 2 months ago.
Certainly. Things in the valley have changed quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
Yes, it's almost like a season has changed, and with it came new problems, new opportunities as well, but a whole new cast of characters who are threatening some cases, our very lives.
Yes.
I wonder if our looks will be updated. A new haircut, perhaps, is in order.
So let me get this straight. You were trying to introduce me to someone who was in line for the throne of Hawk City.
Was that Cutchin's mother?
Cutchin, very sweet boy. Very sweet boy. That was Cutchin's sister, Desdemona. She is Cutchin's sister.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And you wanted to
Cutchin,
unite.
I like that kid. I felt like he never really caught on with the.
He didn't catch on
with the rest of the fellas.
He didn't catch on. He was. Do you know how sometimes someone is born into position, and you just know that if it was all based on merit, they'd never make anything of themselves. That's Cutchin. Cutchin should have been born to an actress. He should have been born the owner of a printing press. He should not have been born at such high noble rank. He wasn't going to be happy doing what he was doing, and while it was going to be very sad at what we had to do, it was going to be worth it in the end.
I see. You seem to be speaking in vagaries, if you take my meaning. Is there something
we were
more?
Going to execute Cutchin Sweet Lion.
To what end?
Because he has no reason to lead and become the next Robert Hark.
So then your plan was to unite.
The next Robert Hark.
He was in line.
That's what they call their kings.
So Robert Hark is a title, not a name.
Every king of Harkness is named Robert Hark. Robert Hark the True, Robert Hark the Brave.
Man, I've heard so many stories about that guy, and now he seems a lot less impressive because it was probably like 15 different fellas.
For sure. Just in my lifetime, I've known 6 different Robert Harks.
So your plan then was to unite Hawk and Monterre?
Oh, much bigger than that. Much bigger than that. But yes, that's what we hoped that you might be the next Robert Hark. That was a plan. That or at the very least, your little one might be the next Robert Hark.
Interesting. I am.
Do you think you just go to a backwoods fort and join a rival army for no good reason? Do you think your people wanted to kill you?
Yes.
You have to understand. I was put into a portal and immediately put in danger. When I came out, I had lost a number of years of my life, and the business that I was going to revitalize in order to prove to my father that I was worthy of the throne had fallen to ruin. Now, joining the military I was swindled into that. That was not part of the original plan. I had planned on helping the military, but then your husband sort of put his foot into my business.
Set you up to be a hero, you say? That's what he did? Set you up to be a future leader of Harkness? Disgraced son of disgraced nobility in Monterre, rises to the top ranks of the Hark army and delivers the crushing blow to Prince Adair in the Breen, only to come back a hero to a fallen city, gone to hard times. Shouldn't that be the one who reunifies Monterre under a new flag? Is that what you're saying my husband did? Or was planning to do? I'm sorry.
Well, when you put it that way, I probably was a little hasty when I was listening to Abel, and he.
This is the old man.
Pleased to meet you. This is the funniest thing I've heard in a long time.
You are significantly better looking than what my husband said. I thought you were the one who had no hair and was spindly.
People have often found me much more charismatic than they expect of a man in my profession.
Goodness.
We are doing a lot of talking about your husband. Have you been in contact with him?
I have been assured that he is still alive. It's funny. He knows how to send me messages through animals. It's very sweet. They walk up to me, then they whisper in my ear. Birds, rats sometimes, wolves often. I think yesterday, actually, I got a message from a flea, if you can believe it. But maybe I'm hearing things. I haven't had much wine since I've been taken hostage.
Abel, Filnyr, this is your territory.
Jonas, as nice as these stories sound, if there's anything we have learned over the past week. How long has it been since we left the army?
This is just 24
Months.
episode, season 2, so, you know.
It's been a little over a month, I think, right? 2 months, maybe 3 months.
We didn't really have any downtime, even though we talked about potential downtime in Lakenhearth.
Okay.
We
It
did
just
like-
went for-
we did like
literally
3
did
weeks.
a night.
Well, we did
Yeah.
like 3. We did like 2 or 3 weeks in Lake in the Hearth, I think.
Yeah. It's been about a month and a half, maybe.
If there's anything you've learned in this long period of time that we've spent together, it's that the only fate you can trust is the one you make for yourself. And even if these fellas wanted to put you on a throne, you know what they really wanted is put themselves on it through you. They wanted to pull your strings and pull her strings and pull everybody's strings.
Well, especially if we were going to loan you money to revitalize that store of yours. You do seem like the kind of person who likes to pay off his debts. But I'm sure that's all over now. You have no desire to return to Monterre and be king of Gilbrain and the wilds to the south.
Why do you say that?
Oh, he just said, isn't that what you said?
I'm definitely returning to Monterre to take back my city.
Oh, well, then I changed, then I forget what I said.
Well, I will say this. I'm pretty sure my dealings with Waverly are probably at an end, seeing as how I disrobed him in front of his entire army.
Interesting.
I would say our dealings with Waverly are probably just beginning, but I also think, Lady Cloudsack, you're talking an awful big game for someone we just rescued out of a cave.
I thank you so much for what you've done for me. I truly do. And Percy has been a godsend.
If I take any wild tales about planting someone on the throne of Harkness with a grain of salt.
Old man, certainly there were other plans that could have come to fruition as well. Believe me when I say this.
And I just sort of gesture around us generally.
Yeah.
Which plan was this?
I will say this, that Waverly had no desire to fight another war as bloody as the Battle of the Bands. Robert Hark the Bastard, who sits on the throne now, would have the whole island burn. I blame him for what's happening, and Waverly does too.
Well, I mean, wouldn't your first hint be that he was Robert Hark the Bastard?
Well, obviously that's not what they call him there.
I mean, everybody else got names like the Brave or the True.
They actually call him Robert Hark Goldfinger.
He's the man. The man with the
I heard he has such a cold finger.
He has a tiny, tiny little finger. It's very weird. It looks like a halfling finger.
And I go,
Interesting.
oh, and I point at Jonas and I go, oh, and then I try to cover it. And I'm like,
Yeah, I put my hands in my pockets.
interesting.
Yeah.
Ionas, I think I might need to apologize to you. I think somehow my presence in the army at Fort Pass was the impetus for us leaving, and my involvement with Percy and the journey that we took and the turns that it took us on have potentially cost you the kingdom and perhaps rule of this island.
Nonsense, Filnyr. If we hadn't taken this journey, he'd still be the puppet of powers beyond his understanding. You'd still be in thrall to an evil spear. I'm the only one who'd be better off if we never met. I'm not even that fussed about it.
Abel, when I met
hold
you,
up your stone,
I'd still be relaxing in my well-built hut on this very mountain
Abel, when I met you, you were dead, broken, naked.
and loving it.
In
Can
a
we
tent.
see his hut from here? Is it still standing or is it falling?
Oh, it's
over?
far away.
There's no
It's
way
far
it's
away.
still standing.
Yeah, there's no way it's still standing. Yeah.
I'd love if you just like point over there, camera
Yeah.
just pans over, and there's just a hut falling over on
Yeah.
the side. Do you mean that hut?
I was poor, but I was happy. Well, I
Yeah.
wasn't happy, but I was at peace. Well, I wasn't at peace, but at least I was left alone much of the time.
Well, Filnyr, I will say this. Yes, you were definitely a wild card, and that spear was a particular thorn in our sides. But Abel is correct. I left my family because I very much wanted to be my own man. And perhaps the Ionas Silhavind before that journey would have gladly walked into whatever situation my parents had set up with anyone else in power. But the man before you, the one that some call Jonas Silverwind, is very much the man that wants to take what it is, wants to earn his position.
Is there something
And Abel, I
that...
don't care what you say, you were definitely not better off before you met me.
is there something that other people call you?
Damn it, my name is Ionas Silhavind. Silhavind.
Jonas
it right.
Silverwind.
Gods! And I walk off.
That's
So they are just about. Percy is
he
just
just
about
said
done
the
with the
same
stew.
thing like 3 times. I do not understand it.
Do you not hear the difference, Abel?
Yeah. All those Monterans, man, their names all sound the
There's-
same, right? Yeah.
It goes to the back of your throat instead of the front, on the sil ha instead of v. It's subtle, I know.
Listen, man, you put whatever you want in the back of your throat. I'm gonna go take a nap.
Perhaps we all need a rest. Perhaps we're all a little delicate at the moment.
So
So a couple questions, Tom.
yeah,
Does Saber come back to me with any information?
he has sniffed around. What did you guys do with the bodies of those people? Of those?
Well, that's my second question.
Fuck all.
Well, we
That's what
certainly
we did.
didn't eat them.
That's my
Yeah.
second question is did he get the smell of the ones that got away?
He could tell that some got away. He comes back and he sort of shares with you his own special image of the smell. Like he gives you the smell in your mind of them. They definitely took off in the general direction of Fort Hapas, but beyond that, he didn't follow.
Okay, but he would recognize the smell in the future?
Yes, he would recognize the smell of at least one of these gentlemen.
Okay, all right. Yeah, the other bodies that are strewn about will remain strewn about.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
if
he's got
nobody's
a little-
coming, I won't set up the dome. I'll just if it's
he's
a
got
fire.
he's got a little spot of blood on his nose when he comes back to you, like from smelling one of the, like putting his nose right up in the dead body of one of these Hark soldiers.
All right. I'm satisfied in what happened there.
All right, so you guys, if you want to, you can eat. You can get yourself a rest. Lady Vera is telling a story to her children, and they're sort of all joining in the telling of this story. She's telling the tale of the first Faeruni mercenaries who came to Gilbrain, the humans who came and discovered this island, populated it, and built Hark City 300 years ago, and how there was almost nothing here of any consequence before then. And she says, and that is when we first built the temple, and the temple became the library, and the library became the capital, and the capital became the castle. That's where only Robert Harks that are deserving and proud and smart should ever live, not pretenders like we have now.
Jonas, I know you're real worried about Florin back in Lake and Hearth, but was it 2 days back there?
I thought it was 12 hours.
It's about, you guys took like 18 hours, right? I think 18, 20
that sounds
hours
right.
plus
we
a
took
rest.
a rest. We took a rest on the beach.
Yeah.
We crossed the
And then I don't know exactly how
Crossed the
long we were
river.
swimming, but
I guess. And then 12 hours from there.
the lake, we swam through the lake.
Yeah, the lake.
Yeah.
So 2 days for a reasonable person.
I mean, I don't know how long it takes to go back through Braintown. Perhaps we should go that way as opposed to through Lakeshire, as much as I'd like to see Galwinia, because the forces from Adair may be looking for us in Lakeshire, given what you told them, Abel.
Indeed. Well, I think our first priority has to be getting these folks to safety and establishing a secure base of operations. We can't be out here roughing it in the wild every night and expecting to free the valley. So
Right.
I think we got to go to Lake and Hearth, and if there's people in Lake and Hearth who don't want to give it up, we got to kick them out.
Tom, remind me, is Braintown, that's in Adaran territory, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically everything in the valley is officially Adaran territory, although it's all disputed.
Right. I mean, like, aside from, like, clearly what Fort Hapas used to be.
Fort Hapas was clearly Hark territory. Up past the Owlwood, far to the west, along the Breen River, there's enough Adaran troops that are out that way that's no Hark army would ever, until they controlled Lakeshire and Breentown, would ever go that far west. So that's sort of the boundaries of the disputed, like, let's call it the demilitarized zone, up until this 1 month period that you guys have been in the Breen,
Right.
that we've been doing this adventure.
Until we militarized it.
It was on its way. You guys didn't have anything to
Right.
do with it, really. I mean, it's militarized now for sure.
But either way, we're probably going to have to fight it. We may have to fight at the end of this march, and we need to be ready to do it.
So, are we safer to go round past Lakeshire? I don't imagine we're going to have everyone swim. Certainly, Pawson can't carry everybody across the lake.
Decision number one is: do we rest now? What time is it?
5 p.m. probably. It's getting to be winter, so it's getting to be dark earlier.
Yes, I don't imagine the children are going to be up for a nighttime excursion, especially if we have to
that
deal
would
with the lake.
probably be the best way to do it. But yeah,
I think we're safer sleeping on the mountain than off of it.
And getting an early start in the morning.
I agree.
Well, all right, I
At
can
sunrise.
protect us. protect us for the evening.
All of us.
Yes, I could protect all of us. I do have an idea about getting across the lake,
Okay, wonderful.
and then if we travel the same way that we came before, depending on how large is the lake, Tom? If I flew across it,
It's big. I mean, how are you going to fly across it? You have fly? You have the spell fly?
I don't, but I have polymorph. I could turn myself into a giant eagle. I can fly people across.
I can fly 2 of us, but only lasts 10 minutes.
You have fly as well? You have fly? Sorry.
It's pretty big. I mean, I would say on Pawson it took you a couple of hours to get across.
Mhm.
I would say his swim speed is 30, right? Like something around that, like that. So
Right. Yeah. Fly for 10 minutes is not going to do it.
I don't think fly for 10 minutes is going to do it.
I could polymorph, and that lasts an hour. And I would think that I could probably fly across it in half an hour.
You could if you're polymorphed as a giant eagle or something like that. That's like a 60 or
60 fly speed.
I think you could.
That's what fly gives you.
I think you could get across in an hour, 45 minutes probably. You could get across the lake. I mean, it's not, that would probably work.
But so the problem is I was hoping I could do that in 2 trips. I guess I could polymorph twice. But then I'm killing the resources.
Yeah, I think you should do that. I think that's a good idea.
Anytime you say you're going to kill the resources, Tom's got it.
Yeah, he's all about it.
The more I think about it,
he's all about it.
I mean,
7 miles across.
7 miles.
Well, I did some back of the napkin math.
Yeah.
It's 30
60
feet every 6 seconds.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
Then that means
5 feet per second, yeah.
300 feet every minute. If you said it was 2 hours.
Mhm.
He calls it back of the napkin math. I think he's pulling out his phone.
Yeah, phone calculator math.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
it's like 7 miles.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I feel like an hour. It will. I can cover 7 miles in quite a bit less than an hour.
Yeah, at 60 feet, you could cover more than that. Yeah, and you could probably carry.
I could
2
probably carry
people?
like 2 people. Yeah, 2 people.
But you're flying in
But-
blind.
I have a question. Why don't we just walk
Across the river?
Skirt Lake
Or across the lake?
No, just go around it.
Just take a
I
circuitous
suppose
route when we
how
get near
close is
Lakeshire.
that? How close does that get us to Lakeshire?
Well, if you walk to Lakeshire,
Well, no,
that
I mean
will
like
get you
if
to
we
Lakeshire.
if we walk around the lake.
Oh, you could
To
go.
Lake and Hearth.
You could go the way. You could go through Lakeshire or around Lakeshire, or you could go the opposite direction. The way you went from Lakenhearth to Lakeshire after episode 13 was episode 14, 15 when you made your way to Lakeshire for the second time. You went around that way, and it was. I think we said it was 19 miles from there. 19 miles from Lakeshire from Lakenhearth to Lakeshire around the lake. Depending on where you get to the lake, if you're talking about 8 hours of walking.
So, but we could bypass
4
the lake.
hours?
We could bypass the lake by land.
Yeah, you don't have to walk. You don't have to.
I mean, so I'm looking at the map, and we could cross the Breen River
Yeah.
and then skip Breentown entirely and go around sort of the Oglethorpe side and not get close to Lakeshire or Breentown, but we'd have to get across the river.
Yeah,
But
sure.
maybe that's not so hard, especially if you
that
can
wouldn't be so bad.
fly across and carry people and go back and forth. Like that
Yeah.
may not be difficult at all.
Yeah, you wouldn't even have to. I mean, I'm not saying there's snakes in there, but you wouldn't even have to find out if there are.
I'm not saying there's not snakes in
I'm
there.
not saying there's not snakes. I'm just saying.
I mean, well, let me just say this. I don't know how specific we need to get with this. Can we walk back to Lake and Hearth, skirting major settlements and trying to be
Yes.
unnoticed?
We just
in
have to
one
cross a
day?
river.
You had to cross the river. You definitely could. And I would say it would take you probably 15, 20 hours.
Okay.
So it's 2 days journey, basically.
A 2 days
with the-
journey. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. with
Alright.
kids. And we have to get across the Breen River without using one of the bridges, or skirt the tower and then go around. Yeah,
Mhm.
foothills.
Yeah, you could go the same way that you could go back by the tree. You could go that direction.
Oh yeah.
I feel like this is like 4 guys discussing routes to work.
We don't need a map.
Or you can take the
See, like, we're just
405
gonna
to the
do it. Like I know where
101
I'm going.
and
Don't ask for directions.
Right. Percy brings you all salted cod stew, and it smells amazing. And he gives you yours, Filnyr, and he says, "Oh, Ionas mentioned that you were something of a chef, sir." No.
I have learned a particular pastry very well, a pastry of Neverwinter. I have learned some techniques in the meantime, so I can make my way around a kitchen, sure.
What is your favorite flavor, sir?
Favorite flavor? Flavor what?
Yes.
Just in
Of
general.
anything. What is your what is your favorite thing to eat, sir?
That is a question I have not been posed before, Mr. Percy. I am. I would suppose it is that satisfying flavor, that umami flavor of a well-cooked piece of meat, sort of regardless of what kind of meat it is, but that satisfying, earthy flavor.
So he dips the spoon into your stew, and he says,
Close your eyes, sir.
Okay, I do.
and he gives you a spoonful of the stew. And when it hits your lips, it doesn't taste like salted cod. It tastes like fatty cooked lamb that has been prepared and slow cooked in smoke, and the water from the stew has that same flavor coming off of it, and then it sort of finishes with a slight hot citrus taste as you swallow it. And he says,
You just have to close your eyes, sir, when you drink my salted cod.
and he just walks away, and he comes to Abel, and he gives Abel
Mr.
his
Percy.
salted cod.
I'm not going to close my eyes when I drink your salted cod, Percy. I don't care
Hey.
what you say.
Abel, I recommend you do. Mr. Percy, are you able to teach this skill?
Oh,
This is incredible.
Uh,
Perhaps I am not I don't believe I am the chef that you are.
you should have met my friend Bonros. He could do this. He could teach anyone anything. Too bad the man is dead.
May I watch the next time you cook?
Oh, of course, sir. The secret is not in the cooking.
Am I seeing this?
no. Yeah, but yeah. I mean, you're seeing him deliver salted cod stew, which, by the way, is your favorite food.
And, am I hearing what Filnyr is saying?
I sure you want to hear what
I'm
Filnyr
not-
said?
I'm not being
Arcana
quiet about it.
check. I got a 14 Arcana.
What are you checking?
I'm checking Percy. What in the world is he? This is new.
I love
is he
it. Like,
doing?
it just so happens that Jonas's favorite flavor is salted cod. So it's like
He doesn't have to do anything to it. Yeah.
he
Like
never
he doesn't
knew
have to
there
do
was
nothing.
anything magical going on.
What are you looking for, sir?
Percy, this is all new. You seem to be well trained in magic.
No, sir. That's not true. Would that it were true, sir.
It is true. You grabbed something that was clearly a brick to everyone else, but you saw a book. I had the hardest time trying to figure that out.
It's true, he did.
Sir, when you've been on this earth, the 41 years that I have been,
You son of a bitch.
you do learn a few things.
Time before modern medicine. Jesus, you killed everybody.
Oh, that's so good.
Sir, certainly I could not be a user of magic, sir. I work in the court of the Silhavine family. They would never allow that, sir, you know.
Regardless, Mr. Percy, you have learned something, and there were people in the court that knew magic. Bondrus knew magic.
Of a kind, sir. That's very true. He was a very good card player.
Mr. Percy, was Bonrus devout?
Very devout.
Hmm. Did he ever do anything that was only explained through his faith?
All the time.
What I think Ionas is trying to say is that his accomplishments were not simply due to his faith, but due to a connection with his God, that he could, in fact, practice magic. And it seems that I have to agree with Ionas that if this is in fact salted cod stew, you have imbued it with some sort of charm or spell, or I don't know how it tastes like braised lamb for me.
Have you ever had my sausages?
I can't say. Have I? Ionas, did
No, I would not let you have that. No.
No, I didn't think so.
Perhaps you should try one of my sausages at some point.
If
I
the stew
believe
is
the
an example, I
answers-
would be delighted.
I believe the answers would be in my sausages.
Do you have
Not
any?
in your salted cod.
And he says, "Have a taste of the original cod." And he has this like small little bag that's on his hip. It's maybe 5 inches long, on like it's just on his belt, maybe 3 inches deep, an inch or so thick. And he reaches his hand in, he pulls out like from it an entire salted cod that is about 30 inches long.
Yeah.
And
God dang, that's the biggest salted cod I ever seen.
oh, you haven't been to the lakes around Monterre, sir. I know cod does not usually travel inland. We have phenomenal waters around Monterre. They say there's magic in the waters.
I feel like if I tried to eat that, it'd split me in two.
That's possibly so, sir. But and he breaks off, like it's hard, you know. It's salted cod. It's like a hard, almost
it's
like a piece
cured,
of
it's
wood.
dried, yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like it's safe to say that in the last 3 hours, this is the most amazing thing I've seen.
and he gives Filnyr the cod, and he says, "You can try this. It'll be about like my sausages.
Okay. And I do.
Hard like salt tack. It tastes like shit."
That's his second favorite flavor. This magic is amazing.
And Percy says, "It's not in the cooking. That's true, sir. You've been eating little bits and pieces of things I picked up from Bonrus over the years in the sausages. That's true. I apologize, sir.
Are you devout, sir?
Devout.
And stunned to silence.
Mr. Percy, do you follow the
Devout.
same gods that Bonrus did? Perhaps that god has gifted you some talents.
Like Bonrus, I believe in the Silhavine bloodline. Above all else.
Not a god.
What is a god?
That's a very good question, but Bonrus was clearly devout. Abel here is devout to, well, at one time was devout to Tempus.
Yeah, but I still have had trouble resolving that question myself.
Yes.
It's
You'd expect me to be a little more well-versed in areas of theology, but like many things, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know.
It is interesting that religion is an intelligence check, isn't it, sir?
I tell you what.
it's unfortunate is what it is.
Mr. Percy, would you say that if someone believed, let's say, that someone of the Silphine bloodline should rule over this area in order to bring about peace to the valley, that if said person wore a necklace with beads on it, that it would bestow that person with great power?
Honestly, sir, I have no idea what you're talking about.
He's just saying if you believe it hard enough, you can make food taste good.
Well,
Which ain't the worst thing I've heard.
people who eat my food can choose to resist it or can choose to embrace it. And I've never had a person, man, woman, or child, who decided to resist it.
What is it that they are resisting,
But
or would be? Are you simply willing it to taste like somebody's favorite flavor?
I am allowing you to will it. It's hard to explain, sir.
Mr. Percy, I am delighted to meet you.
Well, I think I will just continue to believe what I believe.
Praise be Silhavines, sir. And he delivers the salted cod to everybody else. He gives you yours, Abel, and he just says, "It will taste as you want it to, but only if you want it to. Otherwise, salted cod."
Well, my favorite flavor is the blood of my enemies. Just kidding, it's good berries. Just
Percy
kidding.
does-
Just kidding, it's steaks. Low stakes.
Percy doesn't laugh at you at all. He just says, "I will never know what it is you taste. That's the beauty of this, as you call it, magic."
Well, while we're doing all this, I'm going to put up the tiny hut.
All right. The
forgot to
kids
say
are
that.
already asleep. You see that Vera is sitting by the fire and has she's extracted a small hot coal from the fire. She's handling it, sort of tossing it around. She puts it in the dirt. You can tell that it's hot to her hand. It's weird enough that all three of you at some point like sort of look over at her and begin to watch her do this. And she takes the hot coal in her right hand, and all at once she like scrapes it and rolls it on her left arm, her left like inner forearm, from about her wrist to about halfway to her elbow. And she kind of squeals out a little bit, and then she looks very intently at her hand, and she starts laughing. And she touches her forearm again, and she looks up at you all, like looking at her, and just salted cod, good.
I should have expelled her from the hut.
Lady Cloudsack, your husband is quite gifted with spells. Has he taught you some, or have you learned some, perhaps, before you two were acquainted?
No, but I do very much like the feel of fire.
Hmm.
Is there any more wine, Percy? I'm sorry, Miss Vera. No wine. I asked Ionas here to bring us wine, but he never sent it. Only this watered-down ale, not even Holdershek ale.
My apologies. We've come upon some hard times, but I promise you, once we get our affairs in order, you'll have plenty of wine and ale to go round.
And who would even want Holdershek ale? That stuff makes your tongue go numb and your skin turn pale. Everybody knows that.
Just to be clear, that's the ale that you always drank up on the mountain, right? Like if you had ale, it was the Holdershek ale, right?
Yeah.
That would
he
be what
knows
was available.
well.
Yeah, he does know well.
Sorry, that was a Mountain City Mayhem joke for those of you who are not Patreon subscribers.
Mr. Percy, would you humor me with a tale about Ionas, perhaps if Ionas does not object, from before he departed the kingdom?
Hmm.
You have been his caretaker for some time, have you not?
I have been with him since the day he emerged from his lovely mother. It was all of 20... How old are you, Jonas?
22.
All of 22 years ago. He looks at you, Jonas, and he just says, "Is it all right, sir, if I regale your friend with a tale of you as a young man?"
It's fine, Mr. Percy.
Well, when that baby came out, you were a young man of 19, Mr. Percy. I bet you remember it like it was yesterday.
It's easy to remember.
I bet it
things.
doesn't seem like that long ago, even.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That was when I was with my third family. Filnyr, sir, half-elf, sir. What would you like me to tell you a tale of?
Did Ionas always have an interest in magic as a child?
I'm afraid I am to blame for that. As a small boy, he was very interested in things that small noble boys are interested in. Swords, the story of fighting, reclamation of the Gilbrain wilds, defeating elves, of course, and 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 I will never forget. One day, Bonrus sat at his fire. I had the young lad. He was not yet 4 years old. He was on my knee, and we were reading a tale. Bonrus looked over and said, "That's not the book you ought to read to him. It's this one here." And it was a tale of goblins. And Marquez, the Iceman, and the way he saved the goblin village just south of Monterre and allowed the goblins to live in peace with humans. And Marquez was a relatively famous Monterran sword lord, and he vanquished his enemies with fire. And
Marquez the Iceman vanquished his enemies with fire?
yes, they
It's
called
one of those
him
like ironic names, like when you call a big guy tiny.
he was famous for coating himself in ice when he was at the very brink of death, and it would protect him so he could fight another day. He would become a total ice block, and then as it would melt, he would come out blasting fire. And I remember telling young Ionas this story, and he looked at the fire, and he held his hand cupped like he was going to slap a man's ear. You know what you do to a servant who does not act right. I watched, and the fire was 3 feet high, and then he bent it, and he pushed the fire to the ground, and then he moved his hand up, and the fire returned up, and he bent his hand back over the fire. And this young lad of 3 years old, it was as though he could control the fires with just his hand and his mind.
Like as if in some way he made a pocket around it.
A bit of it. And after that, Bonris and I would, when he finished his normal studies of how to properly count agricultural products and how to calculate what your vassals are due owe you at the end of every year, we would read him stories of the Iceman Marquez and others. And I fear that we engendered in him some kind of love for the arcane. But watching him bend that fire was something to see, even as a young lad.
Mr. Percy, why have you never told me this?
Oh, Ionas, do you remember Vlad Sundgren? He was a schoolmate of yours.
I do.
Do you remember how he died?
I do not.
Of course, that's true.
Was it Marquez the Iceman? I've only been half listening.
Yeah. It was not Marquez, unfortunately. Bonris's greatest gift, Ionas, was being able to bend the memories of people after the fact. Sundgren was burned alive. when he took away one of your books.
What?
Yes.
I don't understand. I seem to remember that he... No, that's not right. He moved away.
Right. You remember the name of the town he moved to?
I do not.
Do you remember his mother's name?
Sure, it was...
And why did she still live in Monterre after her young son moved to some town you've never heard of, cannot remember? It's not a good thing to be a noble wizard, because there's many things to clean up after.
Mr. Percy,
Yes.
how involved were my parents in all of this?
Oh, sir, nothing happens without your parents. Bonrus worked very hard to preserve their place and station. Very difficult to have a boy like you going to the academy. People duel, that's true. There are duels. Very few people burn from the inside out at the age of 9.
Oh my goodness.
Gods.
You're a good lad. You're a good lad. You're a very good lad.
And I'm very glad you've learned how to make those pockets.
This was not quite what I was expecting, Mr. Percy, but it will perhaps give us something to ruminate on.
Yeah, and he looks at you, Filnyr, and he just says, I think it's a good idea when you are with a man of awesome power that you recognize it and recognize what it could do to you should you cross this family. Imagine what he could do as a grown man if he could do that to Sundgren as a 9-year-old. And I have always known your greatness, Ionas. And I will stay with you till my dying day.
4 years hence.
I thank you, Mr. Percy. You've given me a lot to ponder. Gentlemen, I apologize. I'm going to take my leave.
Ionas,
You're gonna
sir.
move 3 feet over in your 10-foot hut.
Yeah. Ionas,
I'm gonna just
Ionas, sir.
pull the covers over.
Before you go to bed, sir, would you like me to take away the pain?
I do not know what it is that you can do, Mr. Percy.
I can sing you a little song like I did when you were a lad.
Mr. Percy, if there's anything the last few months have taught me, it's that I've lived my entire life in the dark, and it is time that the truth will out, no matter what. I appreciate your offer, but I need to understand myself and my family. Good night, sir.
Good night, Ionas. And he starts to clean up the dinner plates, and he goes
Filnyr.
over.
That's, I always felt like Jonas was going to be a pretty good wizard. That right there might be the first time I thought he's going to make a good king.
A story about his childhood accident, or do you mean the aftermath?
No, that he wants to sit with it and know it and remember it.
I agree. With that, I agree. It is a good sign.
Well, good night.
Good night, Abel.
So I don't know, in the hut, can you see outside of it?
You can see out.
We can
You
see outside.
out,
Alright,
but
yeah.
people
alright.
can't see in,
Alright.
right?
So the stars are just crystal clear up above the mountain, and all of you are able to be with your thoughts without having them accosted by outside sound, thoughts of Percy or Tempest. John, Ionas, he is whatever you're thinking about, you're able to really go concentrate on it hard.
Can I do one thing?
Yeah.
After everybody's asleep, I will have at least rested for an hour or two, and I'm just going to focus, and I'm going to say,
Mother, are you out there?
Schnobig?
Mother, it's Ionas. I just wanted to hear your voice. Tell me you're safe. Tell me where you are.
Are you here, my boy? Are you in the cell next to me? Have they captured you? I hope not. We've done all we can to make you safe. Are you with Desdemona? Boy, have you saved your brother? And thus ends episode 35 of the Dungeon Dads podcast. Fuck yeah.
I think it deserves to be said because we could all see it, but nobody listening could see it. John was there.
John was.
He had his eyes closed. He's still there.
John's a little
yeah.
That was feeling this.
That was not what I expected when I
that was rough.
asked for an anecdote. I think it was fantastic fucking storytelling, but wow.
Well, I think Percy wanted to scare you guys a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he doesn't know what you've seen, and he doesn't know what Jonas can do
No, he probably doesn't at this point.
Right. Yeah. That's what's terrible.
It's all potential
That's
for
what's
him.
terrible.
Yeah.
I saw what I did as a kid, rather than I'm just glad I was able to get control of it. Jesus.
And always good to have a reminder of the awesome power being wielded, right?
Right.
For man or king.
I mean, I don't want you to be a Jedi. That's all I got to say. I fucking hate Jedis.
And with that, toodaloo.
Toodaloo, everybody. Yeah, come on back. To
Find out
Toodaloo.
why Tom
Episode.
hates Jedis on bonus episodes if you haven't already. Patreon.com/Dungeon Dads. He's explained it more than once, I think. Maybe just once.
Chubada